In general, Level 2 has 5 specific goals. The first one is to utilize stories with pictures in order to access the vocabulary you've learned thus far and grow in the ability to speak in fluid sentences. The second one is to add another 1,200 plus words to your vocabulary iceberg. The third one is to gain a good grasp of verb conjugation. The fourth one is to understand basic patterns of speech that will connect your sentences together more naturally. And the fifth goal is to grow in distinguishing the unique sounds of Arabic. There are also 2 things that we recommend for every level. The first one is to feel safe to speak without worrying too much about your errors. And the second one is to stay in your growth zone by getting at least 10 to 12 new words per session hour. If at any time you're getting too many new words or too few new words, that is a very good subject to talk to your language coach about. I'd like to now share 6 examples of the types of activities you will encounter in this level. First, let's talk about picture stories. These are wordless books full of pictures meant to aid you in starting to tell your first coherent stories. In the very beginning, you will loosen your tongue by telling your guide what you see in the pictures. They will ask you, "Describe for me what you see," and you will try to speak as much as possible. The more curious you are, the more you will get out of the story. The guide's role is to patiently listen to you as you talk and will not try to cut you off, but will happily answer any questions that you ask. I encourage you to go deep into the story and ask things like, what are the characters thinking behind the scenes? You can be imaginative. Don't feel any pressure. The guide is there to help you with new terms and with putting sentences together. And at the end of going through the segment, they will record the story for you in a more natural, correct form that you can then work through together. And as you listen, you'll be able to pull out the new words that you hear and focus on them. Then you will have a useful, coherent story to take home and to listen to over and over again. And as you do this, you can get familiar with the story so that the next day you can come back and try to retell the story in a much better way than you did at first. This is hugely effective in improving your speech. The second major activity you will do in this level is verb strengthening. You will focus on one small set of verbs at a time and practice conjugating them correctly. The guide will command you in all the different forms, present and past, so that you can tune your ear to recognize and use each verb without the pronouns. There are also a variety of grammar points or patterns of speech to work through in this level. We give you the most common sentence connectors, interjections, question tools, and more, so that you can properly express yourself through constructing good sentences. The guide will isolate one of these specific patterns at a time and expose you to it in a variety of examples, and then you'll be able to create your own examples using that particular pattern. The fourth type of activity is what we like to call sound alikes. Certain sounds in any language can be too similar for beginners to distinguish. The guide will isolate these sounds and train you to distinguish them, whether it's a particular letter pair that sounds similar or 2 words that also sound alike. The fifth activity you will focus on is practicing to read sight words. Reading longer sentences and paragraphs will come at a later stage. Lastly, the guides will focus on polite expressions with you. You'll work on short scenarios that will help you understand how words are politely exchanged in specific situations. These are very important in Arabic language and culture, and I encourage you to pay attention to them. As you do each of these activities, you will start to make a log of new words that you learn. The guide will help you start to write each word as you learn it. So, I encourage you to bring a notebook for this. And when it comes time to strengthen each word, the guide will give you a chance to handwrite it in your notebook in Arabic. This will give you a good visual of the word and aid your pronunciation ability. For these reasons, the guide will encourage you to write these words only in Arabic, but not in a transliterated form. It is also not ideal to write out an English definition next to it. The word log is simply meant to be a list of words that you learned in Arabic so that you can refer back to them and visualize these new words as you listen to your recordings. Our goal for Utarabius is continued growth and maximizing the hours that you put in. So please feel free to contact Client Care anytime you have questions, feedback, or other comments. They can also set up a coaching appointment for you in order to sit with a language coach and discuss any challenges that you have.